Okay, Tracy, I'll go ahead. New kickoff rules this year. I'm sure that's a surprise to you that that's the first thing you're asked about.
As a matter of fact. Um, so new kickoff rules. Trying to learn it as fast as I can without any actual live examples of this. It's some other leagues have done something similar, but not the same. Kind of working through that, trying to figure out what the basics are of it and where to start teaching it to the guys, and how to deal with it from a kickoff returns perspective mostly, but also kickoff as well, and kind of seeing what the new norms are, so that we can try to beat the norms. You know what I mean, Deep?
hmm Is this something that you think is going to evolve over the course of the season? Like everybody's kind of got an idea in April what they think it's going to be like, but it could be completely different come October, November.
Yeah, like anything, you'll hope to get better at it. Want to see it happen a little bit. Sent something in today to like a little tweak in the rules. They're still kind of working through it a little bit because it's brand new. It's brand new for everybody. So all the what if this, what if that is still being kind of worked through. We have a call this afternoon with the other coordinators to kind of go over where we are and try to work together so that we have a standard of how to start at least.
Let's go to Mike K, followed by Cassidy Hill.
Hey Tracy, Mike K from the Charlotte Observer. Welcome to Charlotte.
Mike, thanks.
Um, when you looked at this group of special teams players, the specialists, and then obviously you bring back Sam Franklin and Raheem Blackshear and Amir Smith-Marset, what did you take away from that kind of core group that you felt like you could build around your philosophies with?
Great question. And then Tay Davis also, who got added back last week. A really tough group, physical, fast, tough group. Met them throughout this week, and guys that care about the game. I've known Johnny Hecker on and off for years and years. Had some nightmare plays against Johnny, like 2012-ish or 13, somewhere in there. One of those is too old for him. JJ, every year that I've been in, he's been in, kind of thing. So have some relationship with those guys, also a little bit with Eddie as well. But this was not an underperforming group. This is a good group of guys. Expect them to keep their level of intensity and play the same. And the spirit from all of them has been great meeting them in person, just having seen them play. Because the guys you mentioned have some experience too.
And then if I could ask you too, Darren Bates, your assistant special teams coach, how did you come about him? Why does that relationship work? What does he bring to the fold of the coaching staff?
Okay, was one of my favorite players to coach of all time. I coached him in Oakland. We had him in Houston for a couple minutes, and he's always been a great player that I admired his play style, and then having him as a friend since then. He helped us coach special teams at Seattle last year as and coaching intern, season-long intern. So got to see him work outside of a helmet and prove that he could do that type of thing. He brings an unbelievable energy every day. He out of practice, he makes an impact, play to play on the guys, and they can feel that. He also is somebody for the young players to relate to because he had a 9.5, 10-year career without playing on defense. So he proves to those guys that special teams is a job in and of itself. And that's always an example to have. If a guy's struggling to crack the lineup on offense or defense, you can do it just on special teams like some of the guys in the Panthers already have. So it's another voice in that way. Yeah.
Go ahead,
My
Cassie.
turn. Tracy, going back to just the kickoff rules, how much do you watch the tape of some of what these other leagues have done the past couple of years? Or would you rather go into it more like reading it off the paper and then putting it into practice on the field yourself and not necessarily have that in the back of your mind of that tape?
Okay, Cassidy. Ended up doing both because watched all of them. Watched all of the XFL stuff, in particular 400 or so live kickoffs. And that rule is not exactly the same as ours. So there's some key stuff that doesn't quite match up. You can't really just do a best in practice from that league because we don't have it exactly the same way. That's what I was talking to Darren about. The basis of ours is a little bit different. The XFL rule that you're referencing has 10 guys facing 10 guys on a straight line, just facing each other, and most all of it was just kind of one-on-one throughout the thing. And ours is a different setup. We have 10 versus 9. There's an extra guy in the back. There's 2 guys on a separate level. It's not exactly the same rules. So some of it is still, for not really our fault yet, it's theoretical. We're just drawing it and guessing it. There's gonna be a guess and check process as we go.
All right, let's go to Joe Person.
Tracy, hey, it's Joe Person. I'm with The Athletic. Welcome. How are you?
Great. Hey, Joe.
Good. Thank you. I wondered if, sorry to keep beating this new rule.
That's the thing to ask about.
I wonder how it might impact how you guys as an organization, and not, you can only speak for you guys, would affect analyzing and evaluating draft prospects, particularly maybe receivers or another position that also can return.
Okay. Yeah, I've been going through that with Dan and the guys. Also, he had a similar question to you. You may have given it to him on the side, but he had the same exact question about what it does. Now, the punt play hasn't been canceled. There's been no changes to punts. So you still have that player doesn't disappear. You still have gunners. You still have all those. Coaches I've talked to that have dealt with a similar rule, they said there's slightly more value in maybe a bigger athlete that doesn't have to do the run-up on kickoff. So that guy, if he's a touch slower than what we were looking for, maybe moves up a tad. We still have to do all the same stuff. And the difference from what's being reported, where it's closer to an offense and defensive play, is because it's a kickoff. We're not taking the kick out of it. You still don't know where the play starts. So there's still a speed and factor of it. There's still an athleticism, because you could have that person who is not quite the same athlete, but if you position him to where he's now 45 yards away from the ball, then he's going to be out of place and won't be able to do his job. You know what I mean? So it's still kind of, I'm not getting away from the speed players, the aggressive players. All those guys still have value, because they're not snapping the ball from the hash. It can be from corner to corner or right in the middle, and you won't know until it lands.
Where do you think this ends up? I mean, I remember Belichick a few years ago was a big proponent of moving the extra point back. Do you think in 4 or 5 years people look back and say this was a really good rule change, or do you have your doubts?
That was the question I was asking to the other coordinators, or a few of the other coordinators at the Combine. Like, in 5 years, are we talking about this rule? Are we tweaking this rule? Are we going backwards? And that is a straight-up projection. I hope we're in the right direction. I hope we're now in the family of where we're going to end up, and are there going to be tweaks? There were tweaks to the kickoff before every year, so there'll be tweaks to this style of kickoff as well. I don't think that's going to slow down, especially with something brand new. This rule has been tweaked since it was originally presented, 3 weeks ago. So the touchback changing, those kind of things. I think you can always, if you want to affect the return rate, you can play with the math of it as far as where the different yard lines are, where the ball comes out to, where it goes for, a touchback in the end zone or a touchback in front of the end zone, all those things. So there are adjustments to be made once we see the results of it. We're open to that. The NFL's been open to all those things. So are you looking at the NFL kickoff rule in 2044? No. Which way it's going to go, we'll see about that. I hope that we took a big step in the right direction towards the future of football.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go to David Newton, followed by Christian Audisert.
It's David Newton with ESPN.com. Welcome to Charlotte. Anybody told you look younger than J.J. Jansen?
Oh, I will not take that as a compliment. JJ looks great. You should have seen him work out today. He's running full speed with the fellas. We're in the same ballpark, we'll say that.
Just kidding with all. Hey, what about like Tariq Cohen? I mean, what have you seen? I know have you observed him before? Could he be the old Tariq now? Are you excited about what he could bring to this group?
Haven't been able to see him run since we've been here. We're not in the observing part of this yet. That's in a couple weeks.
Right.
So we'll see what that is. Exciting local prospect, right? This is one of your guys from around town. I hope the best for all the guys. I can't comment on where he is physically right now. Hope he's at his best,
Appreciate it. Thanks.
Hey, Tracy, Christian from Charlotte Sports Live, Queen City News. How are you?
Christian, great.
JJ, Johnny, and Eddie are a pretty tight-knit group. I mean, they're always together, always going with the antics and whatnot. Have you kind of just hung out with them in general, kind of got the vibe of the group? What has been the interaction outside of the building with them, if you've had any at all?
Yeah, that's good lunchtime hang for sure. If you've ever been around here, that's the crew. You've seen that before. And they were, especially JJ and Johnny, instrumental in helping me get adjusted to Charlotte. They know where to live. JJ knows where the schools are for the elementary schools, that kind of thing. Those guys are in a stage of life where they know what's going on around town, so they've been great outside the building. From the second I got the job, I contacted them. I've known them from before, so we've been talking before I moved here about what's going on. And JJ and Johnny, Eddie, or whatever you need, coach, I can help you with this, that, it's as much as you want. For any kind of specialist group, it's really comforting to have guys that have done it before, that aren't thrown off by anything new. Johnny's seen it all. He's had a number of coaches. JJ's been here through all the transitions, that kind of thing. So that's a nice resource to have. They've all kind of popped upstairs and said what's up, and they check in on us as we're going through the draft stuff too.
Welcome.
Yeah, thanks. I like your office.
Let's go to Mike K.
Tracy, second time around here. But when you're scouting for the draft, how much input do you feel like you will have in those later rounds? Obviously, those guys are going to have to earn their jobs partially on special teams. And how much of a collaborative process has it been for the staff, particularly you and Dave, with the scouting department heading into this draft?
Okay, still a couple weeks to go on that, so our major stuff is still upcoming. Everybody kind of goes through their list on their own. I do my own searches, and then we group together. I've been going through this stuff with the defensive staff this week, then I go with the offensive staff, then we get together with the scouts. There's just kind of like layers and layers of meetings where we try to build consensus on who we like, on who would be a impactful player for the offense, for the defense, for us. And then you said it, once you get to the later rounds, that's where those guys, to have a chance to make it at their chosen positions, they have to perform on special teams. So then the special teams opinion, hopefully of every team, would just start to gain a little weight there, because that's how the guy gets his longevity. If he can't make it on special teams while he's learning or while he's developing on offensive defense, they end up not making it for long enough to reach their potential as a position player. Dan, Dave, the crew, they've been great so far. Dan and Dave.
And obviously you brought it up, Johnny and JJ are established, but they're older. You also have a kicker who has a history of soft tissue injuries. Are you the type of special teams coordinator that believes in having guys in camp, extra guys in camp, to maybe kind of, preserve older players or potentially guys with injury histories?
Well, we'll see how the roster goes. It's how much space is for this, for that. Though that's kind of year to year. I think the training camp schedule does enough to preserve the guys. I don't think it's when I started, it was more of a necessity to have another guy who could kick the ball. And now with the schedule, you can get through it with just your guys if you want to. There's nice to have an eye on somebody who's on the way, though, if you can, if there's an opportunity, especially in the spring. If you can get another guy that you can see kick, punt, it's a great way to evaluate somebody else. Because once we get to it, there's only 32 of each of them. The backups are at their houses. So this is really your best chance to evaluate the next group of guys if something comes up with an injury, with anything,
And one more, you had Jason Myers out in Seattle.
Yeah.
I covered him really early in his career. He battled kind of inconsistency issues in Jacksonville, then got to Seattle and really kind of became one of those consistent kickers in the league. Was there something you did to kind of build on that consistency from a kicker standpoint?
You covered him in Jacksonville? Is that where you had him?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Jason, as any of the swinging professions, a kick swing, a punt swing, a golf swing, like Christian has behind him, is all those things get better the more times you do them. It's a free throw. It's a repeatable motion. It's a mechanical thing that those guys improve on. Johnny has gotten better over his career putting the ball on his foot. He's not as powerful as he was 15 years ago. Now he's a better punter because he's so much more consistent with his drop hand. And Jason's deal was the same thing. He just was working through it. He is a constant improver. He's in San Diego right now working on his stuff, trying to alter his, well, anyway. But those guys are always working on their stuff, and that's one of the positions that really improves with age, even past the point of some other positions, because it's a swinging position, because it's a repetition, it's a memory, it's a muscle memory position that those guys can go so much longer and continue to get better. And Jason's in the same boat as any of those guys with that stuff. He's just going to keep getting better.
All right, thanks, Coach.
No problem. Thank y'all.